The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's presentation with your host, Craig Proctor.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Today we're going to talk about how to compel a buyer to sign a buyer agency agreement with you so you get compensated for the time and the energy that you spend with buyers. And as you've heard me say, getting buyers signed to an exclusive buyer agency agreement really should be a lot easier than convincing a seller to sign a listing agreement with you, because a seller must be convinced to pay you $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 or even more for your services, where a buyer only needs to be convinced to pay you nothing. All we're asking the buyer to do is be loyal to us. So, ironically, many agents seem to have a lot of difficulty getting the buyers convinced to pay nothing versus the sellers convinced to pay $15,000 or $20,000. And that, seems kind of weird, but it's just because it's always the way it's been done in this industry. The industry norm always has been you don't work with a seller until you've got a listing contract. If a seller called you today and said, I want you to come over and look at my house and advertise it every week in the newspaper and online, and I want you to open house it, and I want you to show the property, and then maybe if you bring me an offer, I might pay you. There's no realtor that would do that. However, there's many realtors that operate that way when it comes to the other side of their business, the buyer side of the business. So it's, it shouldn't be that way. We should only be spending time with clients. Okay, when you get an ad call or a sign call, understand that's not a client. At best, it might be a customer. Probably, a prospect is a better way to describe somebody that inquires about one of your listings. This whole idea of dropping whatever you do and driving across town and spending an hour showing a house that you know they're never going to buy is ridiculous. But the crazy thing is the next day we go and do the same thing. And I'm talking from experience because that's what I used to do. I'd drive whatever I was doing, I'd drop it as soon as that sign call came in. And when do they want to see the property? Right away. So you drop whatever you're doing, jump in the car, drive a half an hour across town, spend an hour showing them the property, or even worse, sometimes when you get there, they've decided immediately they don't like the property. But in either case, what are your options at that point? Do you agree that 90% of the time, at least 90% of the time, they eliminate the property? You've already demonstrated to the buyer that your time is worth nothing, right? They can call you whenever they want, and you'll run across town and show them properties with no commitment on their part. What are your options? Are you going to pull out a buyer contract, do the presentation on the hood of your car in the driveway? So in this business, we really teach people how to treat us. So what we must do is we must set up our rules of engagement. And I'm going to go through the entire VIP buyer presentation that hopefully by now you've already downloaded from the coaching website and you're using it. And if you've got buyer agents on your team, that they're using it as well. If you have buyer agents on your team, you may think they're using it, but they may not be using it the way they're supposed to be using it. A good idea might be for you to tape them, have them record their presentation so you can police this and make sure they're saying what they should be saying in the right order. What I've done from the time is I've actually mystery shopped my buyer agents, where I'll have someone I know pretend to be the buyer and contact our office just to see how things are really being dealt with. Now, if you don't have a team If you don't have buyer agents, you're it. You yourself, you need to make sure that you're setting your own rules of engagement. Okay, we cannot let the tail wag the dog. We need to decide how we want our business to look and operate, just like other professionals do. Just like a doctor. The doctor doesn't come to your house. You make an appointment. You might have to wait weeks or months to go see the doctor. You go to the doctor's office. You might wait in the waiting room for a half an hour or longer. But the doctor has very set rules of engagement. What are your rules of engagement with your buyer business? Now, if you don't feel confident in your lead generation, you may be afraid to set these stringent rules of engagement because you're afraid that the buyer might say no, that the buyer won't be willing to follow your rules of engagement and you'll lose the buyer. And if that's the case, what that tells me is you're not generating enough buyer leads. If you generate enough buyer leads, you're not going to worry about the 1 or 2 out of 10 that won't do things your way. So it all starts with lead generation. If you're not generating enough leads, what happens is you're operating from a position of weakness or desperation, and you're so terrified if you don't do exactly what the buyer wants, when the buyer wants it, that they're just going to call another real estate agent. One of the problems there is you've got to make sure that your marketing and the words that come out of your mouth are expressing your uniqueness, the profound benefit that the buyer is going to get from doing business with you. Because buyers think we're exactly the same. According to NAR, over 85% of buyers said that they picked their agent because that agent was the first person to get back to them. In other words, they didn't care. It could be anybody. And that's not how we want to operate our business. I did a seminar yesterday, and I discussed this with over 400 attendees. I said, when you get an ad call or a sign call, when do you need to call the buyer back? And the overwhelming response was immediately. And I said, well, why do you feel you need to do that? And they all said, well, because if we don't call them back right away, they'll just call someone else. So clearly, the buyers aren't doing business with these agents because of any profound benefit. Their position is a commodity. It could be anybody. And that's the way they live their lives. They could be at their son's soccer game. The phone rings. They have to leave the bleachers, walk into the parking lot, return the phone call. They could be at their daughter's recital. They could be at a nice romantic dinner with their spouse, and the world stops when the cell phone goes off. So I guess that is, certainly one option. It is a way the majority of realtors live. But if you're tired of that, then you want to get your marketing act together so you're generating more buyers than you could possibly work with. And when you generate more buyers than you could possibly work with, you've got the power of choice, the luxury of choice. And that's why we've been given the gift to choose. When you don't have that choice, you end up having to work with anybody and everybody. And when you work with a jerk, when you work with a unmotivated or unqualified, difficult buyer that fights you at every turn, how does that make you feel about your career? How do you feel on those days when you're working with really difficult buyers? When you come home from work Even the dog knows something's wrong. We have a tendency to take it out on the people we really care about. So just let's be clear about this. Your business does have an impact on your entire life. You see, for most real estate agents, their real estate business is viewed by their family as an annoyance. It's not something they're proud of. It's something that they're disgusted with because it constantly interrupts any resemblance of a normal life. So we started in this coaching program by helping you with lead generation. So let's say that you've got that down and you're generating lots of leads. Some of our members will say, well, the leads are no good. Now, mind you, some of the leads won't be any good. But if you find that the majority of your buyers are no good, well, you've either got to change your marketing, or maybe it's what you're doing, what you're saying when you're following prospects. Are you doing the right things to follow up with the prospects and actually reach them? Are you using the universal callback script properly? And are you able to articulate a compelling offer to buyers so that buyers want to meet with you? Yesterday at the seminar, a lot of buyers said, well, they won't meet with me. I can't get them. I can't make them meet with me. And I said, yep, you're right. You can't make anybody do anything. You can't make them meet with you. You have to use the right language in your offer when you're speaking to them to compel them to want to meet with you. That's the situation you got to create. You got to make them want to meet. You can't make them meet. You can't make them sign the buyer agreement. You've got to compel them to want to sign the buyer agreement. How do you do that? By communicating all the benefits. So let's assume that you're doing this properly. You're generating lots of leads. You're not operating from a position of desperation. When you get a difficult buyer that fights you, you're smart enough now to realize, well, I'm better to cut that buyer loose right from the get-go. Okay, and there's far too many of you spending far too much time with buyers that you should just blow off right from the beginning. And I promise you this, if you follow my system for working with buyers, you won't lose any more buyers. You'll just lose them faster, which is a good thing. Wouldn't you rather know from the onset who's going to waste your time, who's going to be insincere, who's going to jerk you around? And the opposite of that is you're also going to know who's going to be a good, loyal, qualified, motivated buyer. So we're not just talking about how you're going to make more money, but we're talking about your experience that you're going to have in the business. Because if you could sift out all the difficult, pain-in-the-butt people right from the get-go, you could now spend your time more effectively with the best prospects, people that respect you, that will do things your way, and you'll have a much better experience selling real estate. So that's what this program is all about. So when you're following up with a prospect, remember my system is all about you simply returning inquiries from prospects that on their own volition have initiated this. So you're not cold calling people, you're not chasing them. You're creating a situation with your marketing where, in essence, they feel like they're chasing you. So you're returning an inquiry with the universal callback script. You've made the right offer, and now the buyer's coming either to your office to meet with you, or the appointment's been set up at their home. Okay, so how do you know what to do? Well, if they own a house, obviously you want the buyer appointment at their house. Why? Because maybe you can get the listing agreement signed at the same time. If they're a first-time buyer, I want them to come to my office because it's an extra hoop I jump them through. You should try to make the appointment as close to now as possible. Time is not your friend. I hear from some of you who say, well, they don't show up for the appointments. But the problem is often that too much time elapses between when you make the appointment and when the actual meeting is supposed to occur. So, if you're speaking to someone today, later today would be a good time to meet, or tomorrow, not a week from now. If for whatever reason you can't meet with them or they can't meet with you for the next 3 or 4 days, you want to make sure that you remind them of the appointment. Send them an email. Call them the day of the appointment or the day before the appointment. If you have a lot of no-shows, let me tell you what the problem is. They're saying yes to you to get rid of you on the phone, but they really don't see the value. They don't understand the value of actually showing up for the appointment. We've all done that, right? With a telemarketer. It's like, yeah, whatever, to get them off the phone. So you're going to know if you've got a problem in that area by the percentage of no-shows you have. If you get, the odd no-show, like 1 out of 10 appointments, that wouldn't cause me to go back and, rip things apart and start over again. Clearly, 9 out of 10 is pretty good. But if you've got 5 out of 10 buyers not keeping their appointment, I think you're sticking your head in the sand thinking everything's okay. Let's say that your offer to buyers was, look, if you come to my office, I'm going to give you a box of gold bricks. Everyone understands the value of gold bricks, right? They would all show up because they understand the value of a gold brick. But what you're offering to them could be more valuable than a gold brick. Right? It should be, because you're going to help them get the best deal on the biggest asset they're ever going to buy, a home. So now that they're at your office, you're going to probably take them into your boardroom, if you have one, into your office. And remember, they're coming into your office because they want to get information on properties, on houses. Okay, they want to get your daily emails, your list of homes that match their criteria. That's what your offer is. That's why they're coming to meet with you. But you want to show them more than that. So you're going to sit down with them either at their home or at the office, and you're going to go through the buyer presentation. So I'm going to take you through that. You should be able to sign the buyers up in like 15, 20 minutes. If that's not happening for you, then you're overthinking this. Remember, the buyers don't have a problem with signing the contract in most cases. It's the realtors that have the problem. The problem in many cases is between our ears, because we have no problem getting our head around the seller to sign a listing agreement, but many realtors, again, have a lot of difficulty getting their head around asking the buyer to sign the buyer agency agreement. So we've talked about the fact that buyers are liars, right? That's what I was taught when I got into real estate, that buyers are liars and that you have to list to last. And in 1988, when I started in real estate, it was true that you were smart to go after listings because there was no such thing as buyer agency. So all you could hope to do is build like a strong relationship with the buyers. And of course, many of us have tried that and we've been disappointed. So clearly buyer agency is here to stay. Okay. It is what you should be doing. And some of you even say, well, no one does it in my marketplace. Well, guess what? That's the best time to do it, when no one else is doing it. We've talked about this. Would you ever waste all this time with a seller without getting a listing contract signed? The answer is, of course not. Okay, so there's 2 steps to this. The 2 conversion steps. Number 1 is converting the telephone call to a face-to-face appointment. And then once you get them into the office, converting them to a signed contract, getting them to sign the buyer agency agreement. So now we're going to go through the VIP buyer presentation. So imagine you're sitting across the kitchen table at their home, or you've got them in your boardroom at the office, and you're going to say to them, look, I want to give you some information on homes that match your criteria, but I want to show you how we can help you find the best home for your needs, negotiate the lowest price, secure the best financing, and meet your home buying needs with the least amount of hassle. Here's the great news, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. It's not going to cost you a penny to have me help you find the home of your dreams and get you the best price on that property. If you take a look at what most real estate agents do, we call this the ABCs of real estate marketing. Kind of poke fun at my competitors here. A, they advertise homes in order to get you to call them. They beg you to come into the office. They choose a bunch of homes they think you'll like. They run you all over town, driving you from house to house. They show you a bunch of houses. They encourage you to make an offer on every house you see, and they feel frustrated because the homes that they've selected are not to your liking. And they get on their knees and they pray that you're going to buy something after all their hard work. So we're different, okay? Instead of us picking up the houses, our focus is on your needs. So there's 3 big benefits in working with us. Step number 1, we're going to find out how much home you can afford by getting you pre-qualified, absolutely free of charge for a home loan. Now, I ask them at this point, have you been pre-approved? Most of them have not. If they have been pre-approved, I want to see the paperwork. Benefit number 2, and remember, this is why they came in to meet with you, is you're going to send them information on all the homes that match their criteria. We call this our unique buyer profile service. And then benefit number 3 is we're going to help you get the home you want using our specialized knowledge. So at each step of the way, you're going to benefit from our innovative consumer programs. And now I go through each step in detail. So you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner, if they've been pre-qualified for financing, I can just click on step 2 and bypass the entire discussion on home loan pre-approval. But that's very rare. As you know, most of them have not been pre-qualified for a home loan. And the reason they have not been because they don't understand the benefit of doing so. And I think we'd all agree if the buyer would actually just get pre-qualified from the onset, it makes the entire transaction run a whole lot smoother. So I have this discussion about, well, do you actually know how much home you can afford? And usually the answer is no. So I say, well, look, that's the benefit of getting pre-approved. There's actually 3 benefits. The first benefit is you're going to know exactly how much home you can afford, so you won't waste time looking at homes above or below your price range. And I have a relationship with lenders, so we can help you get the very best financing, the lowest down payment home loans, the lowest interest rates, etc. And the third benefit of getting pre-approved is when you see a house you like, you can actually make a stronger offer because we can attach your pre-approval. So, if you're the seller, consider this. I show them this example so they get it. You're buyer A, you work with us, you make a cash offer for $350,000, no conditions, and this house that you're putting the offer in is such a great deal that we're in competition with buyer B, who works with another real estate agent. Their offer is for the exact same price, $350,000, but their offer is conditional on financing. If you were the seller, which offer would you accept? So now they get it, that they're carrying a bigger stick. They can negotiate stronger if they get pre-qualified. So pre-approval is really easy. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. A home loan credit report is generated by the credit bureau. Financial details are verified. All the information is forwarded to the underwriter for approval. And bingo, you're approved. Okay, so I make it sound really easy because it is. And the thing, if you don't do a good job of explaining all the benefits to them of getting pre-approved, guess what happens? They don't get pre-approved. I'm going to repeat this again. Would you agree that the whole transaction runs a whole lot smoother if the buyer would actually just go get pre-approved at the onset? So it's better for us if they get pre-approved, but if we sell the benefits of them getting pre-approved, not only is it better for us, but they understand why it's beneficial for them to work with us. It's a service that we're providing that helps them, but it helps us too. Okay, benefit 2 or step 2 is the buyer profile. So remember, this is what they all want to talk about, right? They all want to talk about houses. This is why they came into the office. So you'll find this part of the presentation is really, really easy. You already know this, right? Because they want to talk about what they're looking for in a home. So we're going to get into that conversation, and I'm going to explain how MLS works, the multiple listing service. That MLS is information on thousands of homes from all the different real estate companies. And here's how most real estate agents go about business. They pick out the houses for you. So they make a random search of MLS. They pick out 68 homes, and then they try to sell you one of them. So clearly, the wrong person's deciding which homes you're going to get information on, which homes you're going to get to see, and which homes you're not going to get to see. So we don't do it that way. Here's our solution. Our solution is our one-of-a-kind buyer profile system, which gives you access to all the hot new listings that match your criteria. So instead of us taking control, we actually put you in control. Okay, you're in control. Your home buying criteria is entered into our custom computer database, and every day our custom computer searches through MLS, finds the homes that perfectly match your criteria, so we email you only the homes that are a perfect match. Then, at your convenience, you can check your inbox. Any homes that you like, all we ask is that you drive by them, and if you'd like to look at any of the homes, give us a call. Okay, so we put you in control. When you see a home you want to look at, give us a call. We'll arrange a showing. There's never any pressure to buy. Okay, so when you're in control, what that means is there's no more wasting your time searching through the newspaper, the internet, or driving through neighborhoods. You're going to know with confidence you're going to get automatic access to all the hot new listings before the other buyers even know about them. And you won't have to, we're not going to waste your time. You don't have to waste your time looking at homes that some real estate agents picked out that don't even interest you. You're going to, at your convenience, check your inbox, drive by the ones that look of interest to you, and then all we ask is when you see one you want to look at, you give us a call. So there's never any pressure to buy. Most agents pick out 6 to 8 homes and try to sell you one. Obviously, you can choose to drive by as many homes as you want, and you're just going to call us when you want to look at one. So you're in control. No more overpaying for the home that you want, because you're going to get immediate access to all hot new listings. You're going to be like Johnny on the spot. You're going to know about these hot new listings that match your criteria before other buyers know about them, so you'll have an opportunity to be there first and negotiate the best possible deal. And the third and final benefit, and by the way, folks, most realtors don't do a very good job of step 3. Step 3, or benefit 3, is where we talk about what you and I bring to the table, our specialized knowledge. Okay, we're going to, at no cost to you, help you find the perfect home. We're going to help you prepare an offer for that home that meets your needs. We're going to present the offer on your behalf to the seller, and we're going to negotiate all the terms and conditions of that offer in your best interest. So, in summary, here's how you're going to benefit. You're going to get pre-qualified, free of charge for a home loan, and get access to special financing so you can afford more home for your money. And you're automatically going to receive the best new listings that match your criteria before the average buyer even knows about them, so you can beat other buyers to hot new listings. And you're backed by our specialized knowledge. Okay, we're going to get you the best deal on the home that you really want to buy. And here's the kicker. None of our valuable services cost you a penny. You like that, right? All we ask in return is for your loyalty. And at this point, I look them straight in the eyes, and I say, you know, we're doing this and this and this and this for you, and none of this, remember, none of this costs you a penny, and all we ask in return is for your loyalty. Does that sound fair? As I look them straight in the eyes. And 9 out of 10 times, they say, yeah, that sounds reasonable. I think it is reasonable, right? If we do this and this and this and this and this, and it doesn't cost you anything, all we ask in return is for your loyalty. Does that sound fair? 9 out of 10 say yes. And at that point, I pull out the buyer agency agreement and I say, great. I shake their hand. Okay, great. Shake their hand, and I pull out of my briefcase the exclusive buyer agency agreement, and I say, this just reiterates in written word what you and I have just agreed to verbally. Now, what are they going to do at that point? If they balk at that point and they're not going to sign, basically what they've just said to you and I is they just lied to you. Because really, they just agreed that if we do all of these wonderful things and it's all free, that all we ask in return is for their loyalty. Does that sound fair? They said, yes, it sounds fair. And now we're pulling out our exclusive buyer agency agreement that basically expresses in written word what we've just agreed to verbally. And look, if they balk at this and they won't sign it, it means they're liars. And I would rather know that up front. If they say to you, well, yeah, we're okay with you doing this and this and this and this and this and all for free, but we don't want to commit to you, then I don't think that is reasonable, and I would think you would want to know about that. Now, there's other places that you could go. You could actually you could go to the cancellation agreement here too. Okay, if they wouldn't sign the buyer agency agreement, there's two places where you can go. You could do this. You could say, well, look, how about this? If you commit to me, I'm going to guarantee you in writing that I'll save you at least $5,000 off any home you purchase using my services. This is called a $5,000 cash savings buyer guarantee. I'm going to give you this in writing that I'm going to negotiate at least $5,000 off of any home that you purchase using my services, or I'll pay you $1,000 cash on closing. And if that doesn't work, you could even go here and say, and if you're not absolutely thrilled with my service, if you change your mind for whatever reason, I'm going to give you our cancellation guarantee. Okay, no strings attached. It's an unconditional guarantee for any reason whatsoever up until the time that we put you into contract on the property. If you're not happy, you can cancel the exclusive buyer agreement and you can just, go with somebody else. Now, if they still won't sign your buyer agency agreement, even when you give them the cancellation guarantee, you know what that means? It means run hard and run fast. You don't want them. Okay, now let's assume that, like I said, 90% of them are reasonable, and they say, yes, that sounds like a reasonable offer. If you do all these wonderful things, it costs us nothing in return. And we will, commit to being loyal to you. Then I have a brief conversation about what happens next. Okay, don't make this mistake. Don't sign the buyer to the buyer agency agreement and then shake their hands and say see you later without explaining what's going to happen next. So I have a conversation now that they've signed the buyer agreement about what to say and do when they come across homes on their own. Okay, if you see a home you like, feel free to call for information, but always tell the real estate agent that has the property listed that you're working with us. The benefit to them, obviously, is it'll prevent them from being hounded by their agents, but the benefit to us is we don't want other real estate agents messing with our clients. Get the available MLS number, and then we'll email you complete information. And this is important. Number 3, if you see a home you want to look at, always, always, always call us for the appointment. Never look at a home with anyone else. And the next step is we find you the perfect home. And it's really that easy. You should be able to sign a buyer up in easily under half an hour. When you get really good at this, probably 15 or 20 minutes. My listing presentation took me twice as long. Sometimes I'd be there for an hour, maybe even an hour and a half. Here's one thing that I've learned. When you're at the seller's, the longer you're there, usually the lower commission rate you're going to get. So we need to take control of these meetings. My listing appointments and my buyer appointments were always booked 1 hour apart, and that included travel time. So I might have a buyer agency appointment at my office at 7 o'clock, but at 8 o'clock I have a listing appointment on the other side of town. So I've got to get this buyer signed up, get them out of the office, get in my car, drive to the 8 o'clock appointment, do the listing and the paperwork, and then get to my next appointment at 9 p.m. So if you want to sell a lot of real estate and you don't want to work 80 hours a week, you got to be, sort of efficient with your time. You got to control your time, and you not only control how you spend it, but who you spend the time with. So let's go over to Andrea and see if there's any questions or comments so far.
Yes, we do already have a question, a hand raised, and a typed question. We'll go to our hand raised first. It's Mr. McCarrion. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Mr. Proctor. How are you?
Hey, Vic.
I have a few questions, please. I have a lot of buyers. I'm trying to work with sellers, and I'm not making the appointment to give them the presentation for some reason because I don't have the time. That's one of my challenge. And the second thing, if sometimes some buyers, not all of them, are telling me if it's my listing, they want me to send it to them or to meet with them, or for me to go see the property, not to send them directly, you know. So those are some of the objections I have. But my biggest one is for me having the time to sit with them, and because I know that I can try my best to let them sign the agreement. Just my head is not wired to meet with them somehow. I don't know why.
Okay. I don't really understand that argument because so if a buyer called you today and said, "Go show me this house and go show me that house," you have time for that, but you don't have time to meet with them up front and get their commitment in writing?
Yeah, that's the challenge I have, you know.
Okay, well, why run around with people that aren't committed to you? Wouldn't it be better at the onset to book out a half an hour of your time, go through the presentation that we've gone through here today, and get them signed to an exclusive buyer agency agreement so you know you're going to be compensated for the time you spend with them if they do buy?
Yes.
Okay, how much time are you wasting right now showing properties to people that either don't buy a house or they buy a house but not through you?
I agree, a lot of time.
Right, so you know, we can agree that this is the best way to do it. You've just got to, you know, adjust your mindset.
That is right. That is right.
Like
and
you're doing what most agents do, and you're doing what agents have done for 100 years. It just doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. Would you operate your listing side of your business that way?
No.
Would you run around and waste money or time with sellers without a listing contract?
No.
Okay. When you list a home, do you say to the seller, "I'm going to do this and this and this and this, and it's all free"? You don't do that, right?
That's right.
You say to the seller, "You've got to pay me $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or more in exchange for my services." You have no problem getting your head around doing that because it's the way it's always been done. But with buyers, what you're saying is, "I'm not going to ask for any commitment, even though committing to me costs you nothing. I'm just going to run all over hell's half acre showing you homes, hoping that maybe you buy a house and maybe you decide to use me."
That is true. That is true. Maybe the reason is because I get sometimes overwhelmed with buyers. Let's suppose I have a listing, I get 25 calls, and I don't know how to set up the appointments, you know.
Then if you've got a lot of buyers, it even makes more sense to do it my way, because not all the buyers are going to be loyal to you. However, all the buyers want to steal your time. So
That's
you
right.
set up your rules of engagement. You want to say, you know, there's a new sheriff in town. I'm going to draw a line in the sand here today, and moving forward, this is the way I'm going to work with buyers. Take those 25 buyers. How many of the 25 will come to your office and meet with you and sign a buyer agency agreement? Because you can't work with them all anyway. So
That's
why
right.
even bother trying?
That's right.
When you try to work with all 25, the problem is you don't do a very good job with any of them. You'd be better to take the 25, try to get half of them to come in and meet with you. So you got maybe 12 or 13 that agree to meet with you, and even if you got 5 or 6 to sign an exclusive buyer agency agreement, you would know who to focus on.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, well, trust me, if you want to sell more real estate, Vic,
Yes, sir.
and you want to do it in less time,
Yes.
then only you can decide to change your rules of engagement. If you want to be more efficient, you want to make more money, you've got to control your hours, and you've got to have better control over who you spend time with, and set your own rules of engagement.
That's a great information. If a buyer asks me, I want to get your listings, how can I answer that? Or if a buyer asks me, I want you to go see the property, I don't want it to be emailed to me, then call me, how I can answer those two.
Okay, so let me do some role playing with you, Vic. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Vic, let's say that you're a buyer in front of one of my listings right now, and you call me. First of all, when does the buyer usually want to see the property? If they're in front of one of your listings right now, when do they want to see it?
At the same time.
Right away, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
they call you and they say, "Hey, my name's Joe. I'm in front of your listing on Main Street, and Vic, I'm in front of the house now. I want you to come and show it to me. So one option is you could wimp out and you could run over and show the property, but you already know the outcome. What percentage of the time when you do that, when you run across town and you show the property, what percentage of the time does the buyer say, oh my gosh, Vic, this is the home of my dreams. I want to buy it right now?
It's a very slim.
Okay, but the crazy part is you keep doing it.
That's right.
Okay, so what you're saying is, Craig, I need a better way. Okay, so this is what you're going to do next time. When the buyer calls and they say, hey, Vic, I'm in front of your house on Main Street. I want to look at it right now.
I will ask him if it's for you or for someone else.
Excellent. I like that. So you're going to say, are you calling for yourself? Now, when they say yes, you're a good student, Vic. When they say yes, I want you to say this. You probably want to look at more than one house before you make a purchase decision. If I'm going to show you that property, why don't I show you all the other homes in the area that also match your criteria? Makes sense, right? How many buyers say, no, I only want to see that one house? Most of the time that argument works. Now, let's say that argument doesn't work, because every once in a while, you're going to have a buyer that says, no, Vic, I only want to see that house. We're only interested on homes on that one particular street. We don't want to see other properties. This is this should be part of your listing presentation. You should, as part of your listing presentation, get the seller's permission that you won't show any of your listings to buyers without first meeting with the buyers. Because this is what you're going to say to the buyer. If they say, no, I only want to look at that one house, you can now say, I'm sorry, Joe, but the arrangement or instructions I have from my seller is I must meet with the buyers to make sure that they're financially qualified and make sure they have all the information about the property before I show the home. Now, if they fight you on that, basically what you're going to say is, look, Joe, I'm sure if I had your home listed, you would want me to respect your wishes as well.
That's great.
And by the way, this is very good advice. An important part of your listing presentation is to actually do this, to actually say to sellers, Vic, do I have your permission to enforce that buyers come and meet with me so I can ensure that they're financially qualified, so I can ensure that they have all the information on your property before I just drag anybody and everybody through your home? Because that's what most agents do, right?
That's right.
Now, if you've got those specific instructions from your seller, it's very easy now for you to be able to explain that to the buyer. I'm not allowed to just set an appointment to show you the home. My instructions from the seller, the arrangement I have, is I must meet with you, make sure you're financially qualified, and make sure that we give you all the information on the property to even be sure that this is a property that's a good match. Now, sometimes if they fight me on this, I'm able to say to the buyer, I'm able to give the buyer information that will most likely exclude the home anyway. For example, Vic, if you were the buyer and I said to you, well, Vic, are you aware that this property has electric baseboard heating, not forced air or gas? Is that something you're interested in? The buyer might say, well, no, I'm not interested in an electric baseboard. You see, this is why we need to meet. Because if I had showed you that property, Vic, I just would have wasted your time and my time and the seller's time, because you're telling me you want to go look at the property and you're basing it on limited information. That electric baseboard heating.
That's
okay.
Right.
So there are certain techniques that you're going to use so the buyer understands it's really to their benefit to come and meet with you. Now, even if you use these techniques, some of the buyers are still going to say no. What do you do with the 2 or 3 out of 10 buyers that say, no, Vic, I want you to come drop whatever you're doing. You're going to do it my way. And you're going to come right now and you're going to show me the house. Well, you're at the fork in the road. You can decide to either stick to your guns or you can wimp out and go show the house. But let's at least try to get the buyers to meet with us before we immediately give up and give in.
That's
right?
true.
Like at the last resort is wimping out.
Yeah.
Now, and here's the thing. When you wimp out against your better judgment and you run over and you show the house, just remember I told you so, because you're going to drive back in all likelihood to the office all frustrated, gripping your steering wheel, all upset with yourself because yet again you let the buyer take control of your time in your life and you've wasted an hour.
That's right. Do you think I have the option, if the sellers are home, I just tell them there's a buyer in front of your home and I'm busy, they can see it. Is that okay, or it's not a good option?
Well, you're setting up the rules of engagement in the incorrect way. So now the next house they want to look at, they're going to expect you to do the same thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Are you getting the buyer's commitment? No.
No.
This is about finding out whether the buyers are going to commit to you from the onset.
Okay.
And trust me, it's what's best for the buyer as well as what's best for you and what's best for your seller.
That's right.
This is not new to you, Vic, because this is exactly how you run your seller side of your business. Right? You have set rules of engagement when it comes to what you're prepared to do and what you're not prepared to do with a seller. A minute ago, you agreed that if a seller called and said, hey, Vic, I want you to come over to my house. I want you to advertise it every week in the newspaper. I want you to open house it. I want you to show it. And maybe, just maybe, if I decide to pay you, I will. You would run away from that seller.
That's right.
Okay, so you have no problem setting your rules of engagement with your seller side. All I'm saying is, shouldn't it be really a lot easier to convince the buyer to pay you nothing? Because you're already good at convincing the seller to pay you $25,000 in exchange for the exact same services.
That makes sense.
Okay, so now you just need to do it. You need to commit to
yes.
it.
I just, my mind has to be...
Okay, Vic, one more thing. When the first buyer that you try this on says no, stick to your guns, because they probably would have said no to you anyway at some point later on in the relationship, right?
Yes.
You said a minute ago that you have more buyers than you can work with.
Yes, I'm flooded with it sometimes.
Perfect. Then this is an excellent opportunity for you. Since you know you can't work with them all, let's set up your rules of engagement and find out which of the buyers are real. Right from the onset, which ones are going to be committed to you, which ones are motivated and qualified. Let's get them pre-qualified. We're going to do this all before you run around wasting your time showing them houses. If they're not going to work with you, they're not going to commit to working with you, why do you care about showing them houses?
Okay.
Okay, you got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Vic.
Okay, we had a few of the same questions from our members. They're asking where they can get this presentation. And if they go online to the coaching site under resources, then call Dex for session 5. All of the documents will be there under attachments. And another question they had, Craig, was some of them who were able to find the slide presentation, it has less slides than the one we're showing today. And I believe that's because we have added extra slides for the presentation today.
Well, I've got a couple of slides on my preamble at the start of it. So, let me go over. At the very start of your of your buyer presentation, you're not going to say this to the buyers, are you? I mean, this is just for our use today. You're certainly not going to sit across the table from the buyers and say, well, buyers are liars. You're not going to say, I have to list to last. You're not going to say, buyer agency is here to stay. You're not going to say to the buyer, would you ever market a seller's home without a signed listing agreement? You're not going to say, well, there's 2 conversion steps. you're going to start here. So the first 6 slides are not on the coaching website. It starts with what you're showing the consumer, the buyer, is from slide 7 on. So that's the difference.
Okay, our next question comes from Sean Radcliffe. Your computer mic is open.
Hey, Craig. I have a quick question. I work for a broker that doesn't have an office, so I work out of my home office. So meeting with buyers, obviously I meet them in public places. Is that as big of
Well, you can meet them at their apartment if they're first-time buyers, or you can meet them at their house.
Okay, so would you push to meet them at their place of residence before meeting them at like?
Well, Sean, the only time I would meet them like at a donut shop or something like that is if distance is a problem. Let's say, for example, the buyer lives 30 miles away from you.
Mm-hmm.
You might not want to drive 30 miles from your office to their home, so you might meet them 15 miles, meet them somewhere in between at a neutral location. But if they own a house, you definitely want that appointment at their house. If they're first-time buyers, I'm probably not driving 30 miles to meet them. The heck with that. They can meet me halfway. Okay, I think we lost Sean, or maybe you lost me.
Yeah, I had to mute his line due to the background noise. We couldn't hear you that well, Craig. So we'll move on to Ricardo Brune. Your telephone line is open.
Yeah, hi, Craig.
Hey, Ricardo.
Hey, Craig. As to the cancellation clause or the cancellation agreement, what are the pros and cons in regards to that?
Well, you're only going to use it when you absolutely need to. I don't want you to even go there. Like if it's true that 80 or 90% of the buyers are going to sign up without you going there, like you wouldn't use that with every buyer. This is a bit of a Hail Mary, right? Like if you go through the whole presentation and at the end of it they say, yeah, well, Ricardo, we're not convinced. You're only going to go there as a last resort. And if they still won't sign up, what does that tell you about the guy?
No, we don't want him.
You don't want the guy. If I won't even agree to let you do this and this and this and this and this for free, with a cancellation agreement that I'm paying you nothing, and I even get to cancel this for any reason whatsoever, you don't want me.
Incredible, yeah. Yeah. So and then basically, since that is a last week sport thing type of thing, even if they cancel, you get a chance to work with them and see if they can find a home, and we make a transaction. And if not, anyways, it wasn't that good anyways. Because you have to pull out that type of buyout, clause, cancellation thing, So that's the way I see it. Another thing, in regards to renters, you just mentioned that the efficiency of time, Craig. If it is a homeowner, a seller, I would definitely like to meet at his home, of course. Now, with the renters, okay, I would say, if I sit in my office and they come to my office, in regards to time, I can take care of more. If our lead generation system is working, I can see more people just sitting in my office instead of driving all over town. So in regards to renters, the tendency would be, Craig, to pull them into our office, right?
It's an extra hoop I jumped the first-time buyers through. Yes.
Okay.
I could meet them at their apartment, but I'm just saying personally, an extra hoop I jumped the renters through, the first-time buyers, is they've got to come to me.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it that way. It's just the way I do it.
Sure. Another thing is, if you go to their place, at least, you're going to be there, and hopefully they will be there, but you do take the risk that you travel a lot and you get a no-show.
Well, that's why I like to have the renters come and meet with me.
Right.
They're a little bit flaky, right? I would rather them. I'm going to be at the office doing paperwork or whatever. So if they don't show up, I just keep working what I'm working at. So hang in there. We'll get to everything, but we can't get to everything at the same time. All right, let's see who's next.
Yes, sir. Our next guest, Philip Donyan. Your mic is open.
Hi, Craig.
Philip, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Is that a good time to try a sign call, just to see if I did learn something from last week?
You be the prospect, you be the buyer, and I'm going to play myself the real estate agent. All right, so let's set this up now. Are you in front of one of my listings?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so ring, ring, and I say hello.
May I speak with Mr. Proctor, please?
Speaking.
Yeah, Mr. Proctor, this is Philippe Doyon. I'm in front of 120 Main Street, and I was wondering how much is this property going for?
Okay, are you calling for yourself, Philip?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The price is, and I tell you the price, and I say, is that the price range you're looking in?
It is.
Okay, now, what I want you to notice is I don't just give you the price. I give you the price, but I also come back with the question of, is this the price range you're looking in? Every time you ask me a question, I'm going to answer your question, but ask you a question, and the reason is because the person that asks the questions controls the conversation. Okay, so I say the price is whatever, $399.9. Is this the price range you're looking in, Philip?
It is, but I think it might be a bit expensive, so how many bedrooms?
Okay, well, what price range are you looking in?
I'm looking in that price range, but maybe $25,000 and below.
Okay, it's a 4-bedroom home. How many bedrooms are you looking for?
Actually, we're looking for 3.
For a 3-bedroom, okay. Well, do you have a realtor to help you?
Not right now.
Okay.
I've been talking to a few, and we've been going to open houses.
Would you like me to prepare a list for you of all the homes that match your criteria in a 3-bedroom?
I'm already looking on MLS.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure, what you're getting on MLS, but the list that I can prepare for you is going to include all the hot new listings, including bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and distress sales. I'm assuming you're looking to get a good deal. Would that interest you?
Yeah, you can send it to my email if you want.
Okay. Well, look, rather than me emailing you hundreds of homes that may or may not match your criteria, or even worse, you missing out on the perfect one, Philip, if we can get together for about 15 minutes, I can take down exactly what you're looking for, and that way you'll only get the homes that perfectly match your criteria. It's free of charge. You're never obligated to do anything. Would that interest you?
Yeah, could we do that while we look at the property?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we meet sorry, do you own a house or are you renting?
We own.
You own. Okay, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we set a time to meet at your house? That way I can have a look at your home as well, because that'll be part of the equation, right? You're also going to want to know what your home would sell for. I could give you some information on what to do to prepare your home for sale, talk about timing, when's a good time to do this, go through all of the closing costs that you'll incur, so you'll know exactly what you're going to net in your pocket, and we can have a very, detailed discussion about exactly what you're looking for. So when I take you to the house, I can show all the homes in the area that match your criteria. When's a good time for us to meet, days or evenings?
I'm quite busy right now, so I guess maybe next week.
Okay, well, that's what's perfect about our service, Philip. It's perfect for busy people like you, because once we spend 15 or 20 minutes together, I'll understand exactly what you're looking for, and at your convenience, you can check your inbox. Any properties that you want to look at, all we ask in return is that you give us a call, and we'll arrange a showing.
Yeah, but I don't want to list my property before I find the perfect property for me and my spouse.
Great. Okay, well, why don't we get together? What's next Tuesday at 7 o'clock look like?
How about 8? We're late. We have a late dinner that day.
Well, I guess I could squeeze you in at 8, Philip.
Okay, then.
American Idol's on then, but I'll forego that to meet with you.
Well, that looks like a typical conversation for sure.
Okay, did that feel comfortable to you?
Yeah, actually, felt good for me. I didn't feel too pushed in.
Well, and okay, the other option would be if you didn't play the game with me, then I I would, not have an appointment with you, but I certainly wouldn't be running around showing you houses. So, my mindset is, since I can't work with all the buyers, like Vic said a few minutes ago, he says, I got 25 buyers on any given day. I can't work with them all anyway. So, I'm not really attached to the outcome. I would prefer it if you would meet with me, but it's not the end of the world. If you fight me and fight me and fight me and I can't get you to agree to meet with me, then I guess I'm not showing you any properties. So, I'm cool with that.
Okay. I went to see a seller today. He's in the middle of renovating his property, and I told him I'd give him tips on what to do and what not to do to sell his property for the most amount of money. But he was pressing me really hard for a commission and an evaluation, and I just told him that they would.
Is he ready to list his home today with you?
Nah.
Okay. Then there's no sense talking about what the house is worth until he has the house finished. He's repairing it, he's getting it ready, and the price that you give him today may not be incorrect a month or two from now when he's ready to sell.
Well, that's what I told him, and I told him if he felt comfortable interviewing other realtors. After that, I could show him what I can do better and more for him. So I don't know what's going to.
Well, Philip, I wouldn't plant that seed in his mind. That he should.
Well, he was already telling me that he could get a better commission.
Okay, that's different. If you asked him, are you speaking to other agents, he says yes, then you want to position yourself as last in. I just want to make sure that you're not suggesting that he should be meeting with other realtors.
No, he brought it up himself.
Okay. So look, here's the problem. If you give this guy a commission rate, it doesn't matter what rate you give him, he's going to find somebody else that's going to give him a lower rate.
Well, that's what I told him.
Yeah, it's a no-win. So this is what I would say. I would say, look, Mr. Seller, I want to do a really good job for you, and I want to show you how, you're asking about the rate, so clearly your focus is on who's going to charge you the least. And what I want to show you in my presentation when you're ready is how I'm going to net you the most amount of money after the commission. What's most important to you? Paying the least amount in commission or netting the most in your pocket after the commission?
Well, I'm going to talk to him after I send him a report.
Right, but you do not give him the price or a commission rate until he's ready to list. It'll just be used against you.
You know what he told me? He says everybody does it, and I just told him I don't work like everybody.
Right, and that's why you want to say, look, if you want to list with just anybody, you can do that, but I want you to appreciate the fact that I am different than other realtors, and I want to do a great job for you. I don't want to give you a price today when you're preparing like he's doing renovations to the house. How the hell would you evaluate what his house is worth today before he's fixed it up? That doesn't even make sense.
Didn't make sense to me, and I think he figured it out. And one thing I want to know what you think about is I gave him my 6 warranties before leaving. Do you think that that's a mistake?
Yeah, I wouldn't go through the presentation until he's ready to list, because here's the thing. If you gave him part of your presentation, Philip, you know in your mind it's not your whole presentation, but he might think it is. He might think now, well, I met with this Philip guy. He, showed me what he was going to do. Even though in your mind it's not your whole deal, he might think, well, I've been there and done that. I've met with Philip. Now I'm going to meet with a couple of other agents. And you don't want to put yourself in that position. You want to be talking about what you do and what you charge and the listing price when he's ready to list. Because meeting with the seller, and this is kind of what you did wrong here, you agreed to meet with the seller before the seller was ready to list their home. So you set yourself up for failure, because no matter what you did or said on that appointment, he wasn't going to list with you anyway. He's not ready to list. He told you he's not ready to list. So Philip, do you see the error there? The error is you agreed to meet with a seller that's not ready to list.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd practice on him.
Well, that's okay.
Follow up,
but all I'm saying is, can you see how now you're positioned poorly? He might think, I had Philip in. He wouldn't tell me his commission rate. He wouldn't tell me what he's going to list the house at. So the heck with Philip. You would have been better off to, to qualify him on the phone. And when he said, "Look, Philip, I'm not ready to list my home because I'm doing these repairs on my house or renovations," and you ask him, "Well, when are you going to be done the renovations? When will you be in a position to list your home?" He says 3 months from now. You want to follow up and meet with him 3 months from now when he's ready. You've heard me say this before. It actually is detrimental to meet with a seller before they're ready to list. With a buyer, it doesn't matter. Because if the buyer said to you, "Hey, Philip, I'm not ready to buy a home for 3 months," who cares? You get together with the buyer, you sign them to a 1-year exclusive buyer agency agreement. You don't care whether that buyer buys today, 3 months from now, or 6 months from now. But with a seller who's not ready, who's 2 or 3 months out, I mean, this guy's doing renovations to his home, no matter what you did or say to him, he's not going to list his house with you.
Okay.
Anything you say or do can and will be used against you. What if he thinks now, "Well, I met with Philip, so now I'm going to interview other agents," and he doesn't call you back when he's ready? Or when you follow up with him, he figures, "Well, I've already met with Philip. I'm going to meet with other agents." But when he meets with the other agents, now he's ready to list. 3 months down the road, when he meets with the other agents, how much of what you said yesterday is he going to retain? Answer, not much. So you've actually positioned yourself at a massive disadvantage.
Okay, food for thought. I'll try to do my best to have him call me.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I would not have met with that guy.
Okay.
Why meet with somebody that's not going to list their home with you?
Practice my skills with it.
Yeah, but you know what? There's better ways to spend your time. If you want to practice your skills, we can do it on these calls, right? We want to practice with each other, not with our clients.
Okay.
Because if you practice with me and you don't do it correctly, it doesn't cost you any money. When you practice with a client, you could lose $10,000 if you do it incorrectly. So just, and here's the thing. In my business, when I made mistakes, here's how I looked at it. A mistake was only a mistake if I didn't learn from it. So what's the lesson to learn? You've got to be harder when you're qualifying the sellers on timing.
Mm-hmm.
Do not meet with a seller until they're within a couple days or a week at the most of listing their home.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter how you argue it, all you end up doing is putting yourself at a massive disadvantage by meeting with the seller months and months and months before they're ready to list.
Okay.
All right, got it?
Yeah, well, thank you for the input, Craig. I really appreciate.
All right, thanks, Philip. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed our presentation here today, but the most important thing is to do it, is to take action. And I'm pretty passionate about this. Ideas are nice, but implementation is what's most important. So we talked today about how to run your buyer business, and I hope you step up to the plate, create your rules of engagement, and respect yourself and respect your business and your time. So that's it for today. Thank you for being on today's coaching call. Take care. That concludes today's webinar.